All right. Hey guys, how are you? We are back again. This is video 3 in our series, and I want to welcome you once again to Indiana University Northwest Campus in Gary, Indiana, School of Business and Economics. I am Francine Bergens here representing the Small Business Academy, and I have a special guest that I'm interviewing for this particular series, Lester Young. Hey Lester, how are you?
I'm blessed. How are you today?
Good. And you know what I forgot to mention? Because again, this is real like live interview people. Where are you from? I forgot to mention, like, oh, I forgot it's his hometown to
Oh,
mention where you're from.
yeah, I'm from South Carolina. I'm currently residing in Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, so it's a little.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to start this series off. So just to recap, we're on our third video with Lester Young, right? Yeah, we're on video 3. And I wanted to recap and get someone on as we've given all of these resources through our Small Business Academy. I mean, we've talked about the mission statement. We've gone through the different components of that, accounting, branding, me talking about discovering your why, so many things. We have all these videos and information references, but there is nothing like a real life person to breathe life into what we're talking about. And I wanted to interview Lester and bring him on because he has an awesome business, an awesome organization called Path to Redemption. He is going around cities and states with his message of being, I want to say being redeemed. That's not the word I want to say, but making sure your setbacks are now comebacks after incarceration.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's like a tongue twister just a little bit.
You got to practice it in the mirror. You got to like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that goes with our pitch, right? So I wanted him to come on because he's turned his passion and his purpose into business, into a mission statement, into a plan, and to understand, because our first course in line of action when it comes to business is really understanding, as he said, the man in the mirror. Everything starts with you. You will always hear me say that. He mentioned self-reflection, which I talk about. And I always want the audience to understand that you've got to understand the fire, the passion on the inside of you and what that looks like and how that translates. I'm so excited because he mentioned mentors, things that helped him to turn his passion into business, his purpose into business. He mentioned just leaders, having the right people around you, the right environment, journaling. Yay, because you guys know I'm big on journaling and reading. And that's my other statement, Lester. Leaders are readers. It's really a true statement. It's not a cliche.
I agree. When you look at the top CEOs of this country, whatever people in position that are leaders, you find they have a library of books. They don't have a library of just music. They have a library of books because that helps them shape and open that window so they see the world differently. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm just all for it. That's why I wanted him on here too. And like I said, this is not scripted. This is a real interview where, hey, I'm listening and we're going with the flow. So for this particular segment, I wanted to talk about authenticity, because we hear these words, we've heard purpose, we've heard passion, and you've heard me talk about authenticity, but sometimes we got to go a little bit more into the definition. And I also want you to know the good and the bad, because when I think about authenticity, Lester, I actually think about the challenges I've had being authentic. Don't talk about, because sometimes it can be hard, if you will, to be you.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to be the real you because what comes with it. And I share that from my own personal testimony, that for many years, I did not let my light shine the way I should have, because I was worried about other people, or other people were intimidated by me. So I was not being my authentic self. And quite frankly, it was not until the last couple of years that I really stepped into my light And I told everybody else to put their shades on.
Mm. Yeah, I believe in authenticity. I believe that transparency transports people, you know. So that's been my philosophy in my business. Like, we're living in this era today where some people want to like not be authentic because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. But in the work that I do, when it comes down to empowering those that are currently in prison, those who are transitioning out of prison, going into HR departments and businesses and talking about why people should be given a second chance after prison. This, my position, my passion, my purpose and my passion requires me to be 100% authentic with my journey, right? And that's what has allowed me to move in these various spaces, because of my authenticity comes off in a way where it's not made up. Like you said, our conversation is not script. I don't believe in writing something down and then going with it. Anyone that asked me to do an interview or talk, I'm like, let's be in real time, because I wanted to come off as authentic, because this is part of my brand. Authenticity is part of who I am as a brand. So I want to make sure that when I show up, that people really feel the genuine concern and my issues and why I'm passionate about what I'm passionate about. So my motto is transparency transports people. Transparency allows your business to grow, because now you're not worrying about what other people think. You have then given them the reason why you're doing whatever that business may be. And for mine, it's working with those who are in prison and transitioning out of prison. So that requires a level of authenticity in every space that I enter into. From
absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you this: was it hard for you in the beginning? And if it wasn't, just it wasn't. But was it hard for you to be totally authentic?
No, it really wasn't. You know, because again, journaling allowed me to take complete ownership for everything. Like everything that I've done, I took complete ownership. And part of me honoring and accepting my purpose, I have to be honest about that, right? Mm-hmm. I think for me, I never wanted to be in training. If I'm in HR and I'm training and I don't lead with authenticity, why I'm talking, someone Google Lester Young Jr., and they find something on Google that I didn't want them to talk about, right? So now that shares, as I'm giving this fire presentation, they have now exchanging information and they found out that I'm a fraud, right? Like, oh, why didn't you say this about your story? So I believe that we're living in this era of information. I'd rather be ahead of the story than be behind the story. So that's why I lead with authenticity when it comes down to my mission statement. My whole goal and objectives for my organization is that, and my story is built from my brand is built from my lived experience.
So let's talk about let's define authenticity. So, and always hear me say, was it to you? Because we have to remember, and this is for the audience, everyone has different experiences, thought processes, backgrounds, environments. And so what it may be for me may be different for someone else. But when I think about being authentic, I think about your big T word. I think about being transparent. The other word, honest. Things that are all throughout my videos, telling the truth, and just, I always tell people I'm an open book. Yeah. That's what when I think of being authentic, that's what I think about. So how do you define authenticity?
I define it a very similar way. I define it by standing upon integrity. When we're talking about brand, authenticity requires me to be upon integrity. And to take a little step back with this, when you're thinking about a leader, going back again, you said readers make leaders. Part of being a leader before, for me, when I started my business, I remember like learning leadership. Like, how do I lead people in a business? Mm-hmm. And part of leading people in a business is I had to define my own personal philosophy. What is my own personal leadership philosophy that is centered around a belief system and a moral compass, right? Whatever that is for you or that person listening. But for me, integrity was key to whatever work I do, and that stands upon authenticity and being honest with my customers and my audience about who I am, why I'm serving, and this is what the golden objectives are. And that allows people to accept you more. For me, allowed people to accept me more and be more open to do business with me, but also understand that Path to Redemption stands on integrity, and that's part of my brand. Authenticity is part of my brand. And being dishonest can tarnish that brand. And just like you get a bad review of somebody writing on Facebook about your business, that can destroy your business. And that's why I believe, for me, authenticity stands upon integrity, honesty, trustworthiness, all of those virtues, words of virtues that I have to stand upon in my space of authenticity.
How would you, from your experience, help someone who may be unsure and just being transparent in their journey in business, having that authentic voice?
I think going back again to journaling, right? A person have to like really get comfortable hearing their own voice, hearing their own story. Even if something I tell people is like, tell your story, record your story, listen to your own voice. A lot of people don't take time to listen to how they sound.
Right.
So I know how your voice sounds, you know how my voice sounds, but have you taken the time to listen to your own voice, your own story? And that allows you to develop that level of confidence to be more authentic in sharing your story in that particular way. So those will be some things that I would just encourage people to do, is write it down, read it to yourself 1,000 times, or play it back 1,000 times until you become intimately acquainted with your story that will allow you to be authentic and whenever you share that story.
Absolutely. So apparently I have to do another segment on journaling, because I'm like, oh yeah, I keep hearing this word. So that'll be another segment. Writing myself a note here. So with your brand, you mentioned honesty, transparency, integrity. How does a business owner, because again, we're talking to people who may possibly be new in business, they're thinking about starting their business, because of course, like I said, we talked about the business plan, how to get started. You have the different components of the business plan. When you are writing the business plan, how can one be authentic in their plan, but also make it make sense?
For me, when I wrote my mission statement. When I wrote my mission statement don't say anything about me and my experience of incarceration. It just says, how do you help people turn their setbacks into comebacks by helping them change their mindset and their behavior choices? But along with that, in the descriptive part of that business plan, I share just a little bit about me. So again, that you would know that, hey, I went to prison at 19 years old. As a business owner, this is why I entered into this particular space. My space, I enter into this correctional space because of the lived experience. So that's already listed as a description explaining that I enter into this space. This organization is led by someone who has a lived experience, and you can read into it from there. So I just think that for me, that allowed me to be authentic with those who are reading my business plan. Go to my website, you're going to see it. So again, you're not questioning, who am I getting in business with?
I love that. And I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, wow. So we are going to wrap this one up. And again, we've talked about your passion. We've talked about your purpose. Here it was about authenticity. What does it mean to you? And as a business owner, you have to think about your authentic voice. For every pitch contest I went to, not contest, but just they were just events, because they weren't contests, with your message, with what you have to say. You've got to be honest about what it is you're trying to say and who you're trying to say it to. And like Lester said, the more you journal, the more you write the vision, the more you write things out. It also helps you to see things clearly as well too. So we're going to wrap this one up. And again, we want to say thank you. For more information about what we're doing, even Lester Young, feel free to contact us at Indiana University Northwest, the School of Business and Economics, Small Business Academy. And we've got one more, and we'll be back.